FanExpo, to the final event of FanExpo. Have you all had an amazing weekend? Well, the best part of your weekend starts right now. You saw the clip that with the sizzle reel from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It brought back memories for me because I used to go to the Roxy Theater. I used to go to the Roxy Theater when I was 18, 19, 20, 21. I did it for years. Drunk at midnight. And you would go and do all the stuff that you're supposed to do and run to the front of the stage to do the time warp. But the theater was sort of on an incline like this, and then it went up right before you got to the screen. So the first time I did it, I ran down, fell onto a row of chairs, and I still have a big mark right across my back. That's my time warp scar. And the people responsible for that level of fandom in me are here today. And that's really super exciting. Barry Bostwick missed his airplane and will not be with us today. But that's okay. Because we have very exciting guests for us. I met these two the other day and was so charmed by them. We have Nell Campbell. How many Columbias do we have in us? We have people that I see some people just, there we go. And Patricia Quinn is also here. How many Magentas do we have in the house? You're amazing. You are amazing. Listen, let's not, it's enough of me. It's enough of me talking. My name's Richard Crouse, by the way. Let's invite our very special guest to the stage. Give him a huge Patricia Quinn. Nell Campbell, everybody. This is exciting, and we have people dressed like you. It's not every day, I don't think, that you get to put on your,
Oh, I love that.
That's amazing.
Oh.
It can't be every day that you go out, although I'm sure it happens to you guys more often than not, that people are dressed like an iconic character that you played in a movie. It must happen to you often.
Well, not in my daily life.
No?
No. But it's a huge treat to see you all whenever anyone dresses up as Columbia. Of course, that's especially fabulous for me. And your magenta is so great. And I love seeing magentas too. We get a huge kick out of seeing anyone dressed as anybody in the show. So thank you so much for those of you that have dressed up. What about the echo here?
No, we are like in an echo chamber on this stage, so...
Acoustics, darling, acoustics.
But I must say, I went back to the Rocky Horror Show 21 years later on the stage in London, and then I discovered that Rocky Horror 21 years later, it's on tour in England, sort of non-stop, and when it goes to like Birmingham for the week or Sheffield for the week, everyone does Rocky Horror for that week. And I went to Bristol, and the theatre, the Hippodrome's 2,200 people, and that theatre was full every night with everyone dressed as us. And then I went into London to the Duke of York's theatre, and everyone's getting on the tube or the metro, whatever you call it, and they're all in the G-strings and the bolas, and they don't think anything of it. They're walking up and down Piccadilly and whatever, because they think it's normal, but it's just the others think, they should be hanging out in Soho.
So, Patricia, let's go back to 1973. We're not quite at this part of the interview where we want to talk about the movie just yet. Let's go back to 1973. You're working as an actor, you were selling clothes at the Portobello Market, you were doing all kinds of things. What was your first reaction when you were approached to do a play. It was a limited run in a theater with only 60 people called the Rocky Picture Show. Rocky Horror. No, the Rocky Horror Show.
Sure. Yeah. Well, actually, I did a play the year before that at the Royal Court called AC/DC, written by Heathcote Williams, who sadly just passed away. I haven't ever used that expression at all ever in my life. Who died about a month ago, sadly. And he wrote AC/DC, so I was in that upstairs at the Royal Court a year before Rocky Horror. And that play won the Best New Play of the year and got the Evening Standard Award. And we had Harold Pinter come backstage and tell us how wonderful it was. And also we actually had Beckett sitting in the audience, in the rehearsal room, but I didn't know who that little man was sitting there. But it was Samuel Beckett. So I was there before Rocky Horror, and then Rocky Horror was the next thing that I interviewed for. So I said to my agent, what is this thing upstairs at the Royal Court at 18 quid a week? Which he wasn't pleased about because he takes 10% of nothing. And he said, I think it's something about a circus. He did. And he wasn't wrong. And I've been in this circus ever since, and here we are.
Just to put it sort of in perspective, 18 quid, 18 pounds a week, in $1973, what could you do with that? That wasn't very much.
I handed that to my nanny to look after my son.
So you lost money doing the original one of this show, probably.
That was worth it. But then they asked me to stay on for another 2 weeks, and I said, you can shove that, I can't afford you. They said, but you must pack, because we're going to move it, we want to move this. But they didn't have a theatre to move it to, so they eventually moved us to a cinema down the road, the Chelsea Classic, which was up for demolition, so that it was there for 3 months, so we moved into cinema. And then they moved from there, Nell moved to there as well, and then I left to play Christabel Pankhurst for the BBC and did a big series on the suffragettes, so I left. And then it moved to the Asoldo Cinema further down the King's Road. So this show kept turning cinemas into theatres, which was quite extraordinary.
Well, and Nell, your audition, I guess, it came through sort of being a busker on the street, right? Didn't Jim Sharman and Richard O'Brien see you tap dancing?
They did. They saw me tap dancing. And, yeah, what a tap dance.
You can applaud tap dancing.
It was because I could tap that they marvellously Richard put the tap dance into the Time War. So yeah, they saw me busking.
And Nell in rehearsal, by the way, used to say, Nell's the name, Tappan's the game.
But also they came where I was working as a soda jerk in a cafe in Knightsbridge. And I used to, bob my hair and dress like Ruby Keeler. You've probably heard all this before. I don't want to bore you. Have you heard this? Okay. Tell us about it, Janet. I'm going to tell you. So I wouldn't die of boredom being a soda jerk. I wore my 1930s outfit and my hair bobbed and tap shoes and played music from the 20s and 30s and would take the banana splits, etc., to the tables, tap dancing and singing. And I went up to a table and it was Jim Sharman, Richard O'Brien and Richard Hartley being the musical director. And they said, do you want to be in a musical? And I was like, hello! And by the way, that £18 covered my rent, which was £7 a week, and this other £7 covered the bus to and from, or the subway, underground to and from work. And then I just bludged off men for the rest.
And Patricia, so the show was only supposed to run for a few weeks. It becomes sort of the hot ticket in town. Mick Jagger's coming to the shows, Princess Margaret's coming to the show. I mean, this was really something. Tell me what it was like for you to be in this, originally, this tiny theater and sort of really be at the very center of popular culture in London at that time.
No, it's absolutely stunning, and it was word of mouth, and it was true that by the third week Jagger was queuing up with the rest. Because, I mean, Barry said queuing up. Well, I'm afraid he was, because there was nowhere to go. Because what was happening was at the Royal Court, there was a play on called The Sea, with Coral Brown, the actress in it. And
Australia.
that was downstairs at the Royal Court, and we were upstairs. So we couldn't begin the show till The Sea had finished.
And by the way, if you don't mind me interrupting, Coral Brown was married to Vincent Price. Does it get any better?
No, they weren't married then, they were courting.
They came to the show together.
Yeah, so it was wonderful to have the King of Horror. He came backstage, and we didn't have dressing rooms up in this little theatre. We just all changed in the office. And Vincent Price put his head round the door and said, you know, I can't do his voice, I wish I could. And he said so wonderful we were, and one thought, oh my goodness, that's the King of Horror.
That's the King of Horror.
Yeah, that was lovely.
And why do you think the show really grabbed people at that time? Was it completely different than anything that had been on there? Was it the songs? Was it the, what was it?
As far as I'm concerned, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And we were kicking our heels up. The music was fantastic. It wasn't all written while we were rehearsing. And songs were coming in overnight. And Julie Covington, who was playing Janet, who is a wonderful singer, and she sang Evita on the record. They made the recording of Evita before they put it on the stage, so Julie sang Evita brilliantly. Anyway, so they brought in for her, touchy, touchy, touch me, I want to be dirty, and she said, I'm not singing that, that's rather disgusting.
She never worked again.
And, you know, if you think about it, maybe it was a bit. Anyway, so then the next thing that came in, because the show was still too short, and they brought in Eddie's Teddy, and I thought, we don't have to learn another song, do we? And it's a very long song, and that was so boring, that song. It's not boring in the film, because Jonathan Adams, Dr. Scott, you know, at the table, and Eddie said, you know, but in the show, it was like, you know. And the show is 90 minutes long, short, that's why it's good, it's short. Okay, so you can't get bored. And anyway, so we had no interval, and that was brilliant. And Jim Sharman unbelievably kept the film, I believe, to 90 minutes. That's extraordinary. Yeah.
Now, what are your remembrances of that original run, and what are the things that stand out for you?
Of the original what?
Of the original run, that original, you're in a 63-seat theater, you know, that original spark that really started the whole thing.
There weren't 60, not 63. Unless they gate crashed.
Well, it was the first show I was in, professional show in London, so naturally I was thrilled to be in a show and thrilled to be in such a hit. But when you're that age, you just sort of take it in your stride. So, and being an Aussie...
Yes, you did.
What?
You did.
Take it in my stride.
Yeah.
It's true. I took it in my stride. But anyway, it was all an absolute dream. Mm.
And because it was your first job on stage, and what did you learn from that you took away? Yeah.
Hold on. What did I learn? Oh, I took away the bra I was wearing. Yeah, I got that bra. Yeah, that's going to be my pension.
I want to point out, we're going to start taking questions from the audience. There are microphones up here. If you want to ask a question, line up. Look, people are getting up already. They're tired of my questions. Now, get up and stand by the microphones, and we'll get to as many of you as we can.
The costumes are so good.
So I'm sure that they will ask about the filming of the movie. Patricia, tell me about the most famous lips in cinema history, the most iconic lips in cinema history.
And what beautiful lips they are!
Actually, it's amazing. I just went up to Richard Crouse because I felt I had to. And it's very hard. I look up to actors and tell them, generally, I don't usually go to conventions, do you know what I mean? But anyway, so I thought I did have to say hello to Richard Crouse because I saw Jaws. Anyway, it's not just that, because other work of his, I think he's quite an extraordinary actor, and there he was. And then Nell said it was quite, I forgot, I didn't think. And I just said, excuse me, I bunked his cue. And I said, excuse me, Mr. Crouse, I'm rushing to a Q&A. And, you know, and I'm so, I love your work, blah, 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 blah. And I'm Patricia Quinn from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I have to go. And Nell suddenly said a different set of Jaws. And I thought, did he have the poster there? I forgot that's our poster. Betty knows that.
Well,
imagine.
Brian Thompson who designed Rocky Horror, were huge fans of Jaws. I had shark earrings, jaw earrings. Woo! And of course, I come from the centre of shark attacks, Sydney, Australia. And I'm going to tell you that when that film opened in Australia, if you stood standing over the cliff looking at people surfing at Bondi, everyone was in a straight line. They all thought, if I'm the furthest out, the shark's going to get me. It changed everything. It's incredible how much that affected people surfing. It is.
It is.
I don't think they've ever
Jaws, you mean, are our poster?
No, Jaws. When the Jaws came out, it made people so nervous about going in the water.
I know, I used to take my son to Greece
both
all the time.
It's the truth.
I used to take my son Quinn on holiday in Greece, and I used to do that. I did play it, so it frightened the life out of me.
No, but that's great parenting, Pat.
Okay, so before we go to the question, I'm going to get from Patricia the story of shooting the lips that opened this movie. They are iconic. You're wearing lips. I don't know if people can see you've got a brooch that has lips. You had a purse the other day with lips. They are the most famous and iconic lips in cinema history. But it was kind of an uncomfortable shoot when you filmed it, was it not?
Oh, actually, and then the thing was that it's a very long story. But the thing was that I sang science fiction on stage as the usherette, and when they said about making the movie, they said, but we can't use that as a premise, an usherette at the beginning of the film wouldn't work. They had another idea, which since they couldn't do, but that's something else. Anyway, and so I thought, I was at lunch with them, they asked me to make the film, and I said, you mean I'm not singing science fiction? That's the only reason I took the role, because I heard that song, and I thought it was amazing. And the gender was secondary to that, for me.
Not to this group.
Yeah, but that's the movie. I'm talking about the stage, okay?
Darling, you were iconic as Magenta on the stage as well.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, but I like singing science fiction. Okay, so they said I couldn't do that. And I said to them, well then I'm not doing your film. And then Richard Brown said to me, Pat, one always says no after lunch, not during. Anyway, so John Goldstein he was one of the producers and he lived around the corner in Kensington, said, come to my house, I want you to see the sets, I want you to see what we're going to do. So they're opening up this tiny little play that was on a stage less than the width of this piece of wood here. And all we had was one chair as a prop for Rocky to stand on and do the pose of the thinker. We had no props, we had nothing. So to go around to Goldstein's house to see the pink laboratory, to see these characters called Transylvanians, like with motorbikes and costumes looking stunning, and I looked at all of this and I thought, I'm doing that. That was amazing. And then so we get in the car with Tim Curry, Richard O'Brien and Pat, and Tim said, Richard, who is singing science fiction? And I thought they'd get Shirley Bassey or someone like Goldfinger, because I couldn't sing well enough or something. And then he said, I am.
Richard O'Brien said,
When you're the writer.
And I said, you. Say it. Anyway, I didn't like him. And we went on to do the thing, but then things turned out, you know, in so strange ways. So the point was that at the end of the shoot, everyone was going, it was a wrap, the film was over, it was all over. And they said, Jim Sharman said, Pat, have you ever seen the painting of Man Ray's lips in the sky over Montmartre in Paris? And I said, no, I've never seen it. And they said, it's wonderful, it's his mistress's mouth, a disembodied mouth in the sky. He said, I have an idea that we could have your mouth, this disembodied mouth, singing science fiction. I said, my mouth and his voice, how much? And then I went on to do a play in the West End, Murderer, so Rocky Horror was over, I'm in the West End. Nell lived in the flat across the road, and I was at the Garrick Theatre, and her flat overlooked the Garrick Theatre, and Nell and I stood in her window and took photos of Pat's name in lights, because I was a very arrogant young actress, the arrogance of you.
I want a photo of you standing under your name in light. I sent it to her recently.
Yes, I know.
It's fabulous.
I know it was wonderful. But I did say to her, there's not my name in lights, I'm not doing your play. And I was a bit like that, you know what I mean? Sorry, things have changed slightly. Sorry. Anyway, so that was that. And then they rang up and said, the lips. And I thought, oh, those. And so I went off that day, I had the play to do that night, and I went to Elstree Studios, and it was very sad, because Elstree Studios was completely dark, no films being made, there was nothing happening at Elstree.
We made our film at Bray Studio, so she was now at a different film studio, just to...
Yeah, but it's a much larger studio, you know, and they make like Raiders of the Lost Ark and things like that. Okay, so nothing was being made, and I was alone, and with a film crew, and I'm sitting there in the sunshine, and they're blacking out my face completely, and painting a red mouth, so that only I had a mouth. And then they had no special effects, so we went into the studio, and they had like a kind of a cloth over the camera, and they had a little cutout thing, and focused on the lips. But the point was that when you know, your head moves, face moves, so the lips were going out of focus, so they didn't know, couldn't keep me in, and they said, take that arc lamp out of that and undo it, unscrew it, and then screw in her head. So it was a brilliant idea, so I was clamped, so that I was going. And then at the time the phone kept ringing for me, it was my husband asking for a divorce. And I said, tell him I can't speak to him, I'm clamped.
that is an epic story. Thank you. So we're going to go up and take questions from our friends in the audience. Let's start right here. I will ask you to direct the question specifically to either Patricia or Nell, please. And why don't we start right there?
Okay, I don't know if it's going to be really specific, but my question was actually about Pierre LaRoche, who did the makeup design And he obviously did a wonderful job because his work stands still to this time. And
Wait there, where are you, please?
She's right here.
Okay, and is this question for, who is this question for?
no, I'm asking about Pierre LaRouche, who did the makeup design.
She's asking about the
right?
makeup design. Yeah, what's the question?
My question is, I just kind of wondered what happened to him. He kind of fell off the radar. He's the one that did iconic David Bowie star makeup,
Yeah,
makeup
Ziggy Star.
No, he didn't fall off the radar. I was reading about him the other day.
Really?
In connection with what, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, because I've been for years and years trying to find out, because he's just an inspiration makeup-wise, and I know somebody else on the set did the makeup. He taught them how to do it, so I'm just kind of wondering how, kind of what happened with him.
I don't know, because he didn't do the makeup. He designed the makeup. He came, it was amazing, because he was doing Ziggy at the time, so he just did the Ziggy and the, what's that, lightning streak thingy. And then he came, and I thought,